Welcome to Our Nona. My name is Kevin Kendrick, and each week we bring you local businesses, community influencers, and just people I think that you need to hear from. And today I'm joined by Kelly Komisaruk, who is the owner of Food for Thought. And Kelly, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
So Kelly, your office just opened not long ago, and you're in the South Nona area, right behind the Publix. Tell everyone, like, where's your office at? And tell us a little bit about Food for Thought.
Sure. So yeah, we just opened October-ish of last year, and we really got up and going by the end of the year. We see a variety of kids for mostly feeding therapy. We also do a little bit of speech therapy, but we see tons of kids for feeding aversion, bottle aversion, little toddlers that can't really get off eating puree and they can't eat solid foods. And then we also deal a lot with teenagers who are really anxious to try new foods.
So tell me this. So, and I'm kind of mentioned this to you before. My oldest son, I did not know there was anything such as a food aversion.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, which is why I'm here.
This is why you're here, and you're in a great place to do it.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
I mean, Lake Nona, we're in Medical City, and so what a great place to do it. But he was born early, and so of course he had the lower jaw, and so we were told to give him ice pops.
Okay.
So he grew up on ice pops, Special K, and pretzels.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but he liked the crunchiness.
Sure, he probably liked that input, the sensory input.
Yeah. So talk to us about, like, when does a parent identify that, hey, maybe they should be coming to see you?
Sure, for sure. So all kids, usually parents will say, before 12 months, they were eating fine. They ate everything. They ate off my plate. Around a year and a half to 2 years, it's really common for kids to become picky or just afraid of new foods. So that should disappear around going on like your third birthday. If it's not, and your kid has maybe less than 20 foods, or they have tummy aches a lot, or maybe they complain of pain in their belly or in their throat, or they just will not taste, touch, try new food, a big meltdown at the table if something new is presented, you're cooking a different meal for them than you are for the rest of the family, or you even, I have to go to McDonald's every single day to get my kid food, right? So very restricted. That's when you need to reach for help.
I wish you were around. He'll be 22 soon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I wish you were around 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Because we were always going to Wendy's
Yeah.
because he liked chicken nuggets too. So, I mean, when I was a kid, you kind of mentioned, so when I was a kid, I'm a true Gen Xer. My mom was a baby boomer, and what they put on, whatever they put on the table, you ate.
Yeah.
And I see more families, it's kind of more of the restaurant style. And you mentioned that, hey, we're making different meals. What should it look like? Should it be trying to introduce new foods so that it's, as a parent, we can make one meal for everybody? Or is it more of an a la carte?
What I see happening is parents will give a child the food that the family's eating, and maybe there's like an immediate, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to eat that. And then it just stops instead of the continued exposure. And what all the research shows is the more exposure a child has to a food, even if they're not having it or eating it at the time, the more likely they are to incorporate it into their diet in the future. So that doesn't mean kind of the old school thought of, hey, wait your kid out. You are going to go to bed hungry if you don't eat this. That is an older school thought. But the kind of thinking now is make sure your child has a food that they like at the table. So maybe it's nuggets. Cool, have it there so they can always feel safe and like they do have something to eat, but always have a new food with that so they have the exposure instead of just their kind of quote unquote safe or prepared food.
So once someone comes into you and they bring in, I know you service from, toddlers all the way up to teens. Do you work with adults as well?
I do work with adults, but just virtually, so not in my clinic.
So virtually with adults.
Yeah.
So the majority are 18 and under. Once they come in to see you, walk us through that process of is it just filling out a form or is it trying to slowly introduce?
That's a great question. They do all the paperwork beforehand, like medical history, developmental history, because that piece is really important. You want to make sure if you are seeing a speech therapist or a feeding therapist, either way, you're looking for the root cause of what's happening, right? We're born with a blueprint to want to eat. So if your child is really averse and not eating a lot of foods, you want to see really why. Like you mentioned, your son was premature. That's a huge red flag for someone who might have a feeding feeding aversion in the future. So kids with autism, kids with any type of sensory aversions, things like that, they're all more likely to maybe have a feeding aversion. So we want to make sure that we look at all those factors for sure. But beyond that, they come in, we get to know them, we get to know the family, we get to know the child. The first 3 sessions, usually, to be honest, is really just rapport building. I don't really introduce new foods until probably a month into treatment. So I really want them to have fun with me, know that it's a safe place for them, understand their needs, as opposed to just jumping in and, hey, here's a new food. So,
I got to ask, because you mentioned meltdown at the table.
Yes.
How often have you just had a kid?
We get meltdowns all the time. If you want me totally honest, that's part of it. We have to work through those meltdowns, and what parents, I think, don't understand, and they shouldn't understand it. This is my job to understand it and explain it. But a child has a meltdown. Oh my gosh, that was awful. I don't want that to happen again, right? So then we don't present the food, which is normal. That's what we want to do as parents, right? But what we're there to do is, say your child is not eating, say it's potatoes. You want them to eat potatoes. There's a whole 30 different steps in between that you can do to get them to eat that without it being eating or not eating. And I think when you take them to therapy, if you have a good therapist, they're the ones who are taking you up and down the steps to say, hey, let's do this. Let's have them just be exposed to it. Let's smell it. Let's touch it. Let's get it in their mouth. Teach them how to chew it. Tell them it's okay to take it out if they need to. All the steps in between is what's missing at home when it's just eat it or don't eat it.
So when you see a kid come in, a child, and they taste something and it's an immediate regurgitation. Is that because of the stress of trying something new, or is it just if I eat black eyed peas,
I got it.
It's coming out.
That's a great question. I'm the same way. I have a lot of aversions myself to feeding. I think this is why I'm drawn to this.
Because our parents told us to eat whatever we were told.
And I just
clean up your plate,
like a lot of stuff.
Yeah, starving children in China.
Which is fine. And it's fine. We're all going to have likes and dislikes, right? You don't like black eyed peas. I can't stand mayonnaise, whatever it is, okay? So whatever that is, the problem that the parents I see have is that they can't even get to the point to see if their kid likes it or not, right? They're eating 3 things, and they can't even get them to taste like a strawberry. Or I have kids, they can't get them to taste cookies, cupcakes, pizza. I mean, the stuff that you and I perceive is really good. So we don't even know if they like it or not, right? It's just an immediate, no, and that level 10 meltdown. So we really need to figure out easy ways to get them to be calm in therapy with us and happy, make sure they're not dysregulated. And there's a ton of ways that we do that. So before we present food and figure out if they like it or not.
Let's talk about the role of the parent too,
Yeah.
because, the child is coming in to learn from you.
Sure.
What role does the parent have to learn? Because some parents are just you're going to eat what I give you.
Yeah.
Or the parent has their own meltdown because they're frustrated.
They're anxious maybe about it. It's a scary thing.
So do you work with the parents as well on, hey, look, this is what to try at home. These are the next steps?
It's definitely a whole family approach. And I tell my parents when they come to see me, regardless of there's the time commitment, you have to be kind of ready to say in your head, I'm wanting to devote these 3 months, these 3 months to really getting my child's eating on track, or the therapy is not going to work. Every session has parent education. If the parent isn't in the session with me, I am filming it. I'm sending the videos to the parents. This is what worked. And let's be honest, this is what didn't work, right? I have to figure out the child too. So we have to kind of, as a team, they'll send me back. They'll go home and, okay, we did this food and therapy. It went great. We tried it at home. It was a no-go. How do we bridge that gap? Because if they're only eating in therapy, then that's not going to help them at home or in school.
What are some foods that you see children or toddlers that they're drawn to? That you're I know they're going to like this.
It's almost universally French fries and chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
So, pretty much, right? So where I get a more red flag is when parents are yeah, they love chicken nuggets, but literally only Wendy's. We try home chicken nuggets, we try McDonald's chicken nuggets, and that's when parents get so frustrated because they're they do chicken nuggets, so that's
I spent so
much
money
hard.
on Wendy's chicken nuggets and Wendy's fries.
Right.
I think from the time my son was 2, probably to 8, 9, or 10. That's all he wanted.
Yes.
Chicken nuggets.
Yes, and you're not going to not feed your child, right?
Yeah.
Or sometimes doctors, with the best of intent, say, well, they're not big enough, they're not strong enough. Let's give something like Pediasure, right? Which is a great supplement, and it's easy to take. Some kids will take that, but then what happens is they're full from the Pediasure, and then they're eating even less. So it's this vicious cycle that's really hard to escape from.
Well, the good news news is for all the children that need chicken nuggets, we have lots of chicken
We have a
nuggets.
lot of chicken places.
We got chicken places in Lake Nona.
Sure.
Hey, Mom and Dad,
That is true.
we got you. In fact, you should get like a sponsored by Chick-fil-A.
I could like have them just constant influx of nuggets in my place.
I can hook you up with the owner
That'd be
of
great.
Chick-fil-A.
That'd
She's
be
awesome.
awesome.
So what are some things that when you have an adult, even though that's through video therapy,
Sure.
I would have never thought. I like to eat. You know, I'm not a foodie.
Most people do. It's a pleasurable thing.
Yeah.
The people I see, it's not pleasurable. It's like medicine. It's a chore. The adults that I see, they don't like it. They're doing it because they know they need to do it to survive. And that's a miserable place to be, right? That's not fun. So the adults that I see, and it's not so much adults like our age, it's a lot of times like kids going off to college.
Right.
They're not having the support of parents anymore. They're anxious because living in a dorm is scary. So a lot of it is kids that are 18, 19, and everything's changing for them. And that's when their food intake can really take a hit if they're already averse to a lot of foods.
Do you see with the young adults more of a food aversion, or do you see
Yeah.
more of like an eating disorder or a combination?
In the DSM, it's considered an eating disorder, but what we call it, it's a really long name. It's called avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. And so they avoid eating in social settings. They restrict the amount of food, not because of weight loss, but because they can't stand that feeling of like fullness in their belly. So a lot of different things. Most people I see are really afraid of vomiting or gagging, and they don't like that, and they have a big fear of choking, big fear of vomiting, so that just affects everything.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of vomiting.
Who
either.
is, right? Who
And
is?
then it stays with you all day.
Yes, it's awful.
That's
Who
like
is? I know.
So let's talk about when a family comes to you.
Sure.
One of the most popular questions, probably any question that you get, number one question is, do you guys take insurance? Talk to me about insurance. What are some other options, or is it kind of pay as you play?
Sure. No, we don't take insurance, not directly. We are able to be an out-of-network provider, and that makes it much more affordable for a lot of our families. And we do partner with a company that will run those benefits for you, so you don't have to do it yourself. We also do take a scholarship called Step Up for Students, and many of my kids do have a Step Up scholarship, and that's been really helpful for many of our families. If you don't know about Step Up, I'd be happy to share resources with you because it is a great thing that Florida offers that I wish more families know about.
So, what would you say is your ideal client? Obviously, it's a child under 18 or a young adult. But when a parent comes in and just says, "Hey, my kid's not doing this," like what are some of the things that you look for and say, "Hey, look, this kid needs to be coming to see me as soon as possible"?
So a stressed out mommy or daddy, right? They feel really guilty. This whole thing with eating, it's like mom guilt. It is dad guilt also, but there's just a lot of mom guilt. Like I can't feed my child. It's embarrassing to go to holiday parties. My grandma and grandpa are usually commenting on it. So parents that are really stressed out and really motivated to take action to help. The other thing is really what we really look for, less than 20 foods that a child is willing to eat, low volume of even their preferred foods, a tinier kiddo that really is only keeping their weight or growth up because they're supplementing, and other things parents comment on a lot that I always like to address is I have to go out to eat every day. We have to pack a separate suitcase if we travel, or I'm afraid to travel because I don't want to leave the country and not have the foods I need.
Right. So let's just talk about you real quick.
Yeah.
Where are you from? And what brought you to the Lake Nona area?
Sure. So, I grew up in Michigan, so
Just a little accent.
definitely, yeah. If I'm around other people from Michigan or Wisconsin, it pops out.
Yeah.
More, pops out. But then I went to University of Virginia for graduate school, and then migrated to Florida, where I was in Altamont Springs area because I had a job there. But I moved to Lake Nona when Nemours opened. I was one of the first 2 speech pathologists at Nemours, and I worked there and loved it for years and years. And I ran their feeding clinic, their inpatient feeding clinic and outpatient, which I loved doing. And then I left to share my expertise with residents of Lake Nona who are not, going to Nemours to get help.
So since we're talking about food,
Yeah.
what are some of your favorite places that you and your husband like to frequent in the Lake Nona area?
Here, so I do like pizza. So I like bar pizza. I also like tapas style. So I like Chroma. I like stuff like that too.
I remember when Chroma first opened, it was like this. I would get stressed out because there was so much food and tapas on the menu.
It's a lot.
I would just tell my wife, I was like, look, I want the deviled eggs, and you can order what you want.
Right. And we'll just kind of go back and forth.
Yeah. So tell me this, what are the best ways for people to get in touch with you in your office?
So the best way to reach me is to contact me via my website or just email me directly.
Awesome. Well, Kelly, thank you so much
Thank
for coming
you.
and sharing more. And hey, Lake Nona, thank you so much. And if you want to learn more about food for thought, make sure you click on the link below. We'll make sure we have the website available and, of course, how you can get in touch. Now, of course, the magical question for you is, who should I be interviewing next? So if you have someone that you think I should be connecting with, small business owner, community influencer, maybe it's just a star citizen, make sure you drop their name below, and we'll see you next week.